Hey, welcome again to PTSR, post-Trump-matic stress recovery. You know, I was hacked and scammed and conned and swindled and catfished. My bad. I just wanted to help this prince out from Queens who had this bill of goods. He promised me that if I... just kidding. I never bought into it. How do you know that you are being told the truth with a capital T? How do you know that someone is being honest? You're going to say, because I trust him or her, and I'm going to say that maybe that's blind trust. It's just not just. Here's the problem. People will lie to you to get something they want from you and feel entitled to do so because they believe they are better, they know better, and that you are too weak and stupid to stop them anyway. Are you? They believe you are unimportant and simply don't matter except to get what they want from you. Be it power, control, money, sex, and how many likes, and how many followers, all of the above. Speaking of followers, let's talk about cults. Now, a cult is a group or movement exhibiting a great or excessive devotion and dedication to some person, idea, or thing, and employing unethically manipulative techniques of persuasion and control and use of special methods to heighten suggestibility and subservience, powerful group pressures, information management, suspension of individuality or critical judgment, promotion of total dependency on the group, and fear of reprisal. All designed to advance the goals of the leader and their lieutenants to the actual or possible detriment of members, their families, or the community. They promise you everything, but give you a charismatic leader who is perceived as having special knowledge, wisdom, or divine connection. The leader's words are often considered absolute, and their followers are expected to unquestionably obey. Cults exert significant control over their members' lives, often dictating what they can think and believe and do. This can include controlling finances, relationships, and even daily routines. You know, your 401k and egg purchases, all that stuff. You know, cults create a very strong sense of group identity, often with the highly exclusive us versus them mentality. Members are encouraged to see their group as special and superior to outsiders. I'm not telling you that Trump and JD and Mikey and Elon and that bizarre Russell Voldemort are in a cult. I'm not saying that. That would be telling you how and what to think, just like a cult leader. Just throwing this out for contemplation and speculation. Most cult followers are terrified of vengeful retribution, of looking stupid, of being wrong, or revealing themselves as lickspittles. Lickspittles, look it up. Again, don't see the believers as evil, crazy, or stupid. They were conned, naive, made to feel threatened, united against an illusionary common enemy, or wanting their faith to supersede a woman's individual choice. Now, the asshole leaders of any cult are another story. At best delusional, at worst greedy, power-hungry, immoral, and bigoted. At the very worst, all of the above. As we go swirling down a black hole of economic chaos and moral depravity and environmental destruction, remember, there are people out there trading the future health and welfare of generations for the present wealth and power of the very, very rich. The art of the deal? How's that going for you? We need to deal differently, get it right differently. Remember that our courage to change can only be accomplished through acceptance of our vulnerability, our desire to protect, and our determination fueled by frustration and even anger. Just my opinion. Kudos to Dr. Brené Brown for differentiating vulnerability from weakness and shame from guilt. Vulnerability is A, taking a risk, B, emotional exposure as part of that risk, C, having an uncertain outcome in the process, like what the hell is going to happen to me after this. Courage does not exist without vulnerability, although stupidity usually does. Guilt is, I made a mistake. Shame is, I am a mistake. So, despite your high intelligence, you may make a lot of mistakes. To learn from mistakes, you need to admit to them. If you don't, this keeps you acting stupidly. I mean, really. So if you can admit, then you are acting with courage. We know you can do better, and I hope I can too. On the power of vulnerability when driving, remember, nobody can cut you off if you let them in first. Another good thing to remember, if you really accept, I do mean really, truly, absolutely embrace that you are powerless over drugs and alcohol, or whatever the obsessive compulsive pattern of your unwilling desire is, you will regain the power to live your life willingly. Take that, you stupid diseases. For FYI, I've heard that it's easier to stay sober than to get sober. So you rock on, you fellowship fellows, okay? So, despite my capping on cults and whatnot, to be perfectly fair, what happens when you try to be perfectly fair? If you had $1 million and you wanted to donate it to charity and to be completely fair, you could mail $1 to 1 million different charities. Now, you're completely fair, aren't you then? And what good have you done? Being fair is not always being equitable. In the emergency room, we could have 3 different medical issues to attend. First, we have someone with a very, very painful hangnail. Don't ask me how they got in. Possibly they're the best whiner there. And then we have a broken arm, and then finally a gunshot wound to the chest. Should they all get the same attention and the same resources? Hell no. Those in the most life-threatening danger initially get the most help. It's called triage, the preliminary assessment of patients or casualties in order to determine the urgency of their need for treatment and the nature of treatment required. DEI, or the diversity, equity, and inclusion provisions for government and industry, were a way of implementing social triage for the most threatened populations requiring urgent care, or any care. In other words, no women and children first. Screw the poor and uneducated, and by the way, cut off funds for education and research for all of those who disagree with me. That's what ending DEI did. So it's a new act by the bro-ligarchy, the new Domestic Entitled Ingrate Act. DEI, Domestic Entitled Ingrate Act. So screw the victims, casualties, and those scum in the rest of the world too. Losers! Domestic Entitled Ingrates unite. So, who is selling you what? Are you trying to buy security at the cost of freedom, compassion, equity, and connection? Or are you trying to buy freedom and choice at the cost of stability and certainty? Security alone is stasis. Convictions by themselves, without exceptions, will eventually imprison all of us. Freedom alone is chaos, and it's a dog-eat-dog world, and those with power and wealth will always have the sharpest teeth. This YouTube channel isn't about who's right or wrong. It's about getting you to see and think in a different way. For example, let's say you're walking down the street at a red light and a drunk driver and a speeding car comes whipping around the corner and you couldn't see it. 2 broken legs, 1 broken arm, and a concussion. The drunk driver stopped because he hit a telephone pole after he hit you. They take you to the hospital, assess you, patch you up, and in the process, they find out that you have lymphoma, a cancer. But they found it just in time and it's curable. Well, maybe you'd reluctantly thank the driver for saving your life after he joined AA, got sober, and paid all your medical and out-of-work bills. Of course, there's another scenario that could take place. There's a good Samaritan, and he sees what's happening, and he grabs you by the shoulder just as a speeding car was going to hit you. And you thank him profusely for saving your life. And you die 6 months later from lymphoma. Sorry to laugh. All I'm saying here, there may be good in the bad and bad in the good, and maybe it isn't always the way you think. So according to AdamGrant, I like you, Adam, rethinking can be a good idea. By the way, after you ever save somebody from being hit by a speeding car, to be on the safe side, always ask them the last time they got a complete physical. That's all I got for today's show. So lead with respect, follow with compassion, rinse and repeat. Thanks for showing up. For these ideas and more, check out my books. The Paradox Bridge, Suggestions in Life for Those Who Live with the Critically Controlling, for Kindle and Paperback editions, as well as Audible for the audio edition of Directions in Life for the Occasionally Confused. You can also get directions for free if you're an Amazon Prime member, all through the oligarchy of Amazon.com. All proceeds will go to making sure I can hightail it out of the country in the event of being targeted by the current administration. Thanks for showing up.